Like my colleagues, Deputies Jim O'Callaghan and Jennifer Moran O'Connor, I appreciate the work of the personnel in the Department of Justice, including its agencies such as the Prison Service and An Garda Síochána. I commend the work of An Garda Síochána through these difficult times. Garda personnel have been a reassuring presence in our communities. This work demonstrates clearly the value of community policing. Visiting older or vulnerable people has been very reassuring for so many individuals and families. Their work alongside voluntary and other statutory groups is important in ensuring that families are not left isolated or without grocery or medical supplies. I raised directly with the Taoiseach and also directly with the Minister for Health the lacuna in the law where Gardaí are empowered, if necessary, to restrict the movements of persons in our state, but this power is not applicable to persons resident outside our jurisdiction. I believe, Minister, this law should be amended. Similarly, at our airports and ports, there should be no tolerance for people refusing to fill out the passenger locator forms. Minister, you may recall, as Minister Staunton will as well, that I raised the absence of a refuge centre in Cavan Monaghan with you during recent justice debates, and I also raised that matter with the Minister for Children and Youth Affairs. We are all well aware that the number of women's refuge spaces in our state is well below our obligations under the Istanbul Convention. For a vast region like Cavan Monaghan, two large rural counties, we have no refuge to support women leaving situations of domestic abuse. I know of women who have had to travel to different counties, to our neighbouring counties in Sligo, Meath and Louth, to seek emergency accommodation. This is a tragic situation. We should be able to support these people in our own counties at a time when they are very vulnerable. Towards the end of 2019, I had correspondence from TUSLA, which indicated that funding would not be available for significant service developments in 2020. However, they also stated that they would continue to plan towards future developments. That followed our debate here on legislation in December. I sincerely hope and I appeal to the Minister to use his good offices to have the needs of Cavan Monaghan prioritised. We must support women through their most harrowing experience. We have to ensure that adequate services are provided and the people who are suffering through domestic violence have accommodation and support services when they need them. I commend the work of local groups such as Termon Domestic Abuse Service in Cavan Monaghan and Safe Ireland at national level and other groups for their ongoing support of victims of domestic abuse. In many instances, they are providing much needed services and accommodation on very limited budgets, services that should be provided by the state. Safe Ireland were in touch with your department, Minister, at the end of April, seeking your support for a proposal they put directly to the Minister for Employment Affairs and Social Protection. This specific proposal requests access to emergency rent supplement for women and children in need of immediate relocation as a result of domestic violence for a period of 3 months and/or the duration of this COVID-19 national emergency. Minister, as you are taking the lead on behalf of the Government on tackling domestic violence during these troubled times, I would appeal to you to pursue this proposal directly with Minister Doherty. I understand that centres providing services are experiencing a significant increase in demand for those services due to the rise in domestic violence, which we know of through reports from An Garda Síochána, and that is also evidenced internationally as well. Minister, I would appeal to you to have the provision of a refuge centre in the Cavan Monaghan area given priority attention in the service plans for 2020. I instanced in earlier Dáil debates and earlier today that people seeking such accommodation services have to travel to Louth, Meath or Sligo from parts of Cavan and Monaghan. That's not acceptable, because in some instances children are attending school in normal times and they cannot go back to their normal school if they are so distant from their home where they should be living but had to leave because of violence. Minister, I mention again the Termon service in Cavan Monaghan very dependent on fundraising, as are other services throughout the country. They do great work, show great commitment, and the personnel there provide that welcome and that much needed support for people who are very, very vulnerable. So, Minister, we need to ensure that our obligations laid out in the second National strategy, and those under the Istanbul Convention, that they are honoured. Minister, with regard to direct problems for residents in direct provision centres, I had detailed correspondence with Minister Staunton. I appreciate his detailed reply to me, and I would like that if he would ensure that the commitments he made in that correspondence to follow up and ensure there's much better accommodation and services for people in direct centres, that could be expedited as much as possible during these very troubled times. Thank you,
Smith, thank you very much. Deputy Martin Kenny.